This wound blocks a man's capacity to love. We're going to dive into this conversation today, and I'm really excited to have our guest, Tammy Cox, who is a trauma specialist, who helps women find lasting love. So welcome, Tammy.
Oh, thank you for having me, Jonathan. I am so looking forward to this.
Yeah. Well, what most people don't know is we decided to kind of do a complete pivot right before we started. And I am going to be on the hot seat effectively. We'll call it the love seat because I know what you do is generate love for people. And I'm going to put myself on the firing line, and we're going to do a session today to share how you operate. And by the way, folks, if you want to connect with Tammy, there's a link below to join her link tree and find out all her good stuff, whether it's Instagram or her coaching and all that good stuff. So how do we begin today, Tammy?
Oh, okay. So this is where we do a little investigation into
Okay.
Jonathan. Okay.
Okay.
So what would you say has been the biggest challenge in your life?
Oh, well, my biggest challenge is my gigantic ego. So I would say that's been my biggest challenge. But lately, can I talk about it, what I'm feeling lately?
Is it feel like I want the thing that has been the biggest challenge throughout your lifetime. So if you look, you said, okay, my ego. What
Yeah.
does that mean? What part of your ego has been in the way of the thing you really want?
What
And
part of my ego has been in the way of what I really want? Well, I think to some degree, my life growing up, and I'm thinking, in my 20s and 30s, was to be successful from a financial perspective. I mean, and particularly in my professional capacity. So to some degree, I was driven, with that script of, you know, being like from a romantic perspective, being a provider protector, but more from an egoic place of, making lots of money so I can have this fantastic life kind of thing. That's was probably the driving force in my early years.
okay, so since financial success was driving you,
Yes.
there was one area that went all the way to the back. What area was that?
Well, okay, now if I'm really going back to mommy and daddy, is pleasing mommy and daddy. If we go back to
Yeah.
the core.
Okay. What is the one thing that you really want right now?
Oh, can I go back to the one thing back when I was younger? It just
Sure.
occurred to me. I think I wanted to be liked. I think that was like, if I really go back to the core, is to be liked, because I didn't feel liked as a child, especially in school and that sort of thing. So if I really go back, I wanted to be liked. Um, so now where I'm at in adulthood, I've been in a gigantic rut for a while. I've felt both. I feel a bit alone because I work by myself and I'm at home all day long. I work from home and I spend a tremendous amount of time by myself, and 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 I'm also just burnt out professionally. I mean, as much as I love being a coach and helping people, I feel rather burnt out. So, and I just wanted to give some context to the question. And what I want is contentment. I want some level of equanimity in my life, because I tend to either have high highs or gigantic lows. I tend to be, my energy is spaced out like that.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is
Yeah.
you're saying, I'm pouring into everyone else. I'm pouring out, pouring out, pouring out, and I have
Mhm.
nothing left in me.
Yeah.
So what that tells me is that you were trained as a child to give, 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 and your receiver is a little off. You're not receiving. You're not allowing yourself to receive. You're blocked off that way. Okay. And when you
Okay.
say I'm alone, so I want you to, can you close your eyes for me?
Sure.
'Cause this is where we need to access some deeper information.
Okay.
I want you to go into the feeling, the emotion of I
Hmm.
am all alone. Okay. I want you to go all the way inside of it. I want you to feel, recognize, and notice that there's a place in your body where these feelings of I am always alone stem from, originate originally. And I
Mm.
want you to recognize there's a place in your body where these emotions are coming from. And I want you to take your hand and place it on that area. First impression.
That first impression was right
Yep.
here.
That's right. Now I want you to go all the way inside. What color is it? First impression.
Well, my favorite color is blue, and that's what popped up.
Okay, blue. I want you to go all the way inside of that blue. I want you to go to the very center of it, the very core of it.
Okay.
And I want you to recognize, see, become aware that out from that blue area, out from your chest, is projecting an image. And I want you to allow this image to get very, 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 very clear. And as you notice,
Mhm.
this image is directly connected to the very first memory you have of feeling all alone.
Mm.
Let that image pop up. Did you get it?
Yeah, I got an image.
Okay. Keeping your eyes closed, I want you, first impression, how old are you in this image?
Approximately 3-ish, 3.5 maybe. I mean, give or take in that range.
Okay. So 3, we'll say. What is happening in this memory?
Can I open my eyes or do I keep them closed?
No, you want to stay closed.
Okay. It just feels uncomfortable. Partly because, all right. So my mother and father, we lived in an apartment in Germany. And while my father was working in Germany, and I remember they left me in charge of my brother, who was a baby at the time, because they went next door to the neighbor's apartment, which was probably just right across. And I was in charge. And
Mhm.
and I was scared shitless.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know,
So I want you to go inside that blue bubble that your
Yeah.
3.5-year-old self is in. I
Yeah.
want you to feel what he's feeling right here in this moment. Okay. Because your subconscious took me to this memory directly connected to this emotion you feel, I'm all alone.
Yeah.
Okay. And I want you to actually move through that bubble, knowing that as you feel it, you heal it. Okay. So I
Okay.
want you to move through it. It's going to be like threading a needle. You're going to go all the way through it until it's fully emoted, knowing that this bubble is just emotions trapped in the body. So
Okay.
as you feel it, you heal it. And I want you to let your 3-year-old self know that you came back to feel these emotions for him. I want you to let him know that he's not alone, that he's never been alone. And I want you to let him know that he is the most important person in your life, that you're always here for him and you always will be. What does he need to hear from you right here in this moment?
I've got your back.
Mm-hmm. What else?
You're going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
I've got your back. You're going to be okay.
I want you to tell him that he could never be alone, even if he tried, that he is so supported, that he's so loved, and that he doesn't need anyone else or anything else, that everything he needs is right there within him. I want you to let me know when that color is fully transparent. Is there something else he needs to hear from you in this moment?
I'm struggling with this.
It's okay. It's okay. Scoop him up in your arms. I want you to look deep into his eyes. Okay. And I want you to let him know that you will come back for him whenever he needs you. Okay. And I want you to make that commitment to him. I don't want you to just say it. I want you to hold up to that end of the bargain, because your connection to him, he is you and you are him. And he still holds this pain. And until it's emoted, this pain lives on in you. And it's activated this belief that you're alone, because you've never been alone. He's never been alone and he never will be. But that was just a belief he created at a very young age. So I want you to give him permission to let go of the belief. And I want you to just infuse him with new beliefs, the ones he gets to choose.
Hmm.
And when it feels good, you could come back into the room, into the moment. You could open your eyes.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. I know. I told
I
you
wanna
you
be
were gonna.
candid
I
with
told
you.
you were gonna feel a little uncomfortable because you're the host, and
Yeah.
if I take you through a process where you're gonna close your eyes, you're gonna feel really out
No,
of
there
control.
was an energy there. And what was interesting was I had another memory pop up that I wanted to share with you. So I grew up, my parents were from another country. My heritage is Turkish. And when we came back to the United States, I felt another type of aloneness, that I was different from everyone else. You know, everyone was American, and I was, you know, even though I was born in the United States, I felt a different type of alone. Not, you know, it wasn't necessarily, physical aloneness, because I had people around me. It wasn't that, but there was an emotional aloneness that I experienced. And that started to pop up by the time I went to, I went to kindergarten in Germany, and I felt really alone because everyone was German and I was American. And I didn't know the language, so I felt alone. And then when we came back to the United States, I felt very alone. So there's layers to this that stems from that first memory, but it carried on, until maybe second grade. But even then, I just felt different, not alone.
Well, the thing with beliefs, okay, especially what we call commands, which are the limiting beliefs that are, we would say, the hardest pressed into your subconscious mind, like they're the deepest ones.
Yeah.
And a belief is a thought you keep thinking, but when it's ingrained in your subconscious at a young age, it gets played out throughout your life.
Yeah.
Unless you change it, which most people don't change their beliefs. So if you believe you're alone, even though you're clearly not, it doesn't matter. The subconscious is always going to perceive it through the beliefs.
Yeah.
So it's just the perception that is the reality. So even though, you may have a person that never is in the house by themselves, but still has this belief that they're alone. Where does that come from? And usually with my clients, what I find is it didn't even come in during their lifetime. It comes down both the mom and dad side. So we adopt 95% of our belief system from our parents. Most of it did not originate from you.
Well, I'm to that extent that and you know that I've done extensive work on personal development, healing, that sort of thing. It's interesting because at one point I examined my mother when I was in my mother's womb. My mother was incredibly anxious because she had like 5 miscarriages and a stillborn before me. So she probably imprinted a shitload of anxiety. And I tend to have a lot of anxiety. Sometimes, it's like, it seems like unwarranted, but I tend to have that. And I recognize that was something imprinted at a very young age. And so, it's interesting because I'm going to, I'm on the hot seat, if you will, but
I love seat.
I love seat because Tammy is a sweet, kind, loving person. I'm going to put myself on the chopping block for a moment. And I'm going to say that on some level, at a very young age, I adopted the belief that the only way I'd be happy is if I was in a relationship with somebody.
There you go.
Like my happiness will be a result. It's kind of, I'll call it the Cinderella story. For me, it was a TV show called Heart to Heart that I saw at age 17. But I adopted the belief I need someone to love me so I could feel good about myself.
Because without it, I don't.
Exactly. And that's where that aloneness also feels amplified right now, because I'm not in a significant type of relationship right now.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating, right?
Yeah.
That's why I think, when people come to me, they think that there there's a problem there that really isn't. Meaning that everything that you really want, is within yourself. But
Mhm.
you think, oh, when I have that person, I'll be happy. When I have that job, I'll be happy. When I have that thing, when these people treat me this way, I'll be happy. But the truth is, the happiness is a choice that comes from deep within you.
Yes.
So when I was in my very toxic marriage for many, many years, and I swore that it was him, right? He was the problem. He was the toxic one. Well, when I went through my own healing journey, what I realized was I had this deep command that I was unlovable.
Mhm.
And that sabotaged all my relationships. All my relationships. When I found it, I found that it was the component that destroyed each and every one of my relationships. And that's because how could you believe that this person loves you when you don't believe you're lovable? So
Yeah.
I had these walls up, and I see this with people all the time. I had all these walls up, like hundreds of walls up around my heart. I couldn't let anyone in. So for me, when I began to give myself the love that I so desperately desired, because I figured out that I was indeed very lovable, because I am love, because I
Yeah.
come from the source, I was generated through love. Each and every one of us are. And when I tapped into my own source, I no longer look outward at what can you give me, because I can't give it to myself.
Yeah.
I don't need that love from anyone. I don't say, "Oh, do you love me?" Used to do that all the time, right? Always looking
Yeah.
for,
Yeah. Yeah.
please fill this huge empty void inside of me. And now I realize and recognize that I'm doing that to myself. And if there are moments where I feel deprived of love, I go give it to myself. That little boy I took you to,
Yeah.
I have that. I have a relationship with all ages of myself, and when she is hurting, I feel it, and I go inside of myself and get face to face with her, and I say, "What do you need?" And
Yeah.
sometimes she just wants to be picked up. Sometimes she wants to be held. Sometimes she wants to be told that she's safe, 'cause she didn't feel safe growing up. So
Mhm.
you get to give yourself all those things that you so desperately want this other person to give you.
So I want to give you some more backs. By the way, thank you so much for that share, because as you were sharing it, I was like metabolizing it to some degree. And the irony is that, I wrote a book about what we're describing as self-love is that, to me, self-love is taking care of that little 6-year-old or 5-year-old or 3-year-old inside of us and nurturing it the way you shared. And the irony is I wrote a book about this. So, here, the title, What the Heck is
I
Self-Love
thought that
Anyway?
was behind you.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And I recognize that the more it's like, boy, is there more work to do in this area for
Oh,
me,
there
like,
always is, though,
yeah.
and I think that's where a lot of people in our space get stuck, because they see another layer of the onion and they freak out. And
Mm,
it's like, don't get freaked out by the next layer of the onion, and I'll tell you why. Because as long as you're alive in this particular meat suit with this
yeah.
DNA, you've got a lot to clear, because I know with my clients, once we start clearing their lifetime, then we go back through the lineage. My dad, I came from there nothing compared to what the trauma that my dad lived through. And
Yeah.
so I'm now healing his lineage, and he's been dead since I was 11.
Mm,
Everyone in his family is wiped out. Very tragic story, very tragic family, but all that lives on inside of me. And it was my blessing and my gift to heal, right?
yeah.
And so I believe that I came in this lifetime with this mission in mind. I believe that I chose it all, and I believe that it is my privilege to do. So when I see another layer of the onion, I say, "Yay, thank you for another day of life." Because if I was already at the core, I don't know that this happens, but if I was at the core center of that onion, I would be out of this meat suit, right? I'd be, it'd be
Well, it's interesting. Well, it's funny you say that, because I think I've only been in this space for a little while now, where I'm at right now. And just to give you a tiny little bit of backstory, I'm aware that my attachment style is anxious, and I tend to choose people who are emotionally avoidant. So, I mean, that's been my pattern in the past. And I've always chose like people that I'm like, love me, love me. They're not, they're emotionally
Mhm.
kind of constipated. And while there's moments and glimpses of love, or validation, that sort of thing, I was always longing for it. And I know that stems from my childhood. But Tammy, I want to share with you, about a year and a half ago, I went through a really bad breakup. Somebody who I actually probably was the first person I genuinely loved. I mean, I felt deep love, and they ended the relationship. And we had lived together for about a year. So this was and I went immediately to acceptance, and we had a very conscious uncoupling, because I recognize, if it's not right for one, it's not right for both. But I kind of spiritually bypassed the first 8 months of that ending and was just being stoic. And keep in mind, I'm also sharing this publicly, and I've got this public persona as a dating and relationship coach, which I have another layers of shit going on inside of me. And I didn't really access the deeper pain until about 8 or 9 months later of how much that really hurt. And I still probably have a fair amount of residue from that, because I went from living with someone where we were together 24/7 to then being by myself. And so when I talk about alone, that's part of that experience where I was with someone. We were together almost 24/7 because we lived together, and she was retired. So we spent a lot of time together. And I think I'm still processing that grief. And plus I'm burnt out professionally. So that's where a lot of this is like being flushed out to the surface. And I recognize I'm in my next evolution of growth, but fuck, Tammy, if it isn't painful to go through the muck. So
And
anyway, I wanted to give
pain
you
is
that
such a
backstory.
good thing though, right? Why do we judge pain? Pain is what lets us know, hey, that's a hot fire. Get your hand off. Like
Yeah.
pain, we have judged it so much instead of looking at the wisdom it gives us. Pain
Mhm.
in the body tells me, like emotional pain I'm talking about
Yeah.
here, it tells us, hey, there's something here that needs to be dealt with. When it comes to physical disease, right? The
Yeah.
body gives you signal after signal after signal. Hey, something here that needs to be dealt with, which
Yeah.
always tells me emotion. There's stuck negative emotion in the body that needs to be removed. That's it. You don't need to judge it. Nothing. Okay. Remove the pain stuck in the body. So that's what I do with my clients. We just simply remove all the pain that they've held on to since childhood. So I can
Yeah.
tell you, you've done a lot of work, Jonathan, but there is still a lot of pain in there because the breakup wasn't about the loss of that relationship. The pain actually merged from the pain in the past, from the current pain, from your perception of the event, and it became this really big thing to grieve.
Yeah.
It's just our perception of the event. But if you have been like working on removing that pain, you know how I told you, hey, get your tissues out, because when I take people through this process, we're looking for the tears. And I didn't take you to that point because you asked me not to. But what we're looking at is to extract the pain that is sitting in your body,
Yeah.
just sitting there, wreaking all this havoc on you. And it's very interesting that we do, I believe, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, we knew how to feel our emotions fully. But in the
Yeah.
in the time we're at now, we have so much judgment about pain that we just stuff all of it, just choke it down, and it just sits in our body, and it's really not good for us. So
Well,
the key is to pull it out, remove it, feel it.
you just said something that caught. I'm curious about something. So let's go back a couple hundred years ago. Do you think people expressed more? Because it seems like people vomit, on especially social media to some degree. What was different? I'm curious. What do you think was different a couple hundred years ago?
It was probably much longer than a couple hundred years ago, but
Yeah, I was going to say,
I'm thinking more in like the ancient civilizations, like if you just look at like Native Americans and
yeah,
all their rituals. But even take this down to like a child, right?
okay,
Children freely feel their feelings. I'm talking about before age 5, gets
okay,
less and less after 5, but when
okay,
they're pure, right? A baby has no shame. They don't
yeah,
care if they're naked, if they, rub poo all over they don't
yeah,
care, right? They have
yeah,
no shame.
yeah,
If they feel hurt, they cry. If they feel angry, they scream. Like they're so connected with their emotions. But what happens
yeah,
is the parents train them out of feeling their emotions. Don't cry, especially boys. I see this all the time. It makes me sick. We train our boys, our little people, not to cry, not to feel their pain. They don't even know how to deal with their emotions because their parents just want to shut them up.
yeah,
So instead of feeling, they're taught to choke everything down.
yeah,
Okay. But if you allow, or even better yet, teach like with my youngest one, I teach her when she's angry, I'm like, ooh, go scream at a pillow, get it all out
yeah,
in a productive way.
yeah,
I'll have my clients do primal screaming. I'll have them go in their car, scream to the pit of their stomach, because a lot of women are holding in a lot of anger.
mm-hmm.
So we got to let ourselves feel the feelings when they come up. I think another belief that we have is that we're going to hurt someone else when we do it. Well, there's ways you could do it without hurting someone. For
Yeah,
instance, like screaming into a pillow or screaming in your car. Crying is so good for you. It's literally releasing negative ions trapped in the body. So
yeah,
there's so many ways that you can release emotion, but when you, especially men, you know how I told you I don't work with a lot of men because they're so detached from their emotions that when I take that cord to plug it in to the outlet,
yeah,
they won't even let it go in.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's so frustrating because they're very detached from their emotional body, and we gotta plug back into those emotions because emotions are teachers.
Yeah.
It's telling you something.
So, all right. So, since this is a conversation about I mean, the title is "This Wound Blocks Men's Capacity to Love," and I know you're a trauma specialist working mostly with women.
But
Um,
I help them work on him. So I
okay.
coach them to work with him, not really with him knowing it.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Um,
go ahead.
Oh, by the way, well, I want to address that for a second, but someone just posted a question. By the way, if anyone has a question for Tammy, do me a favor. There's a little chat box in the corner. Write the word question, then post the question there after. Or you can purchase a super sticker, super chat. There's a little $ in the chat box. All the monies from the super sticker, super chat goes to a scholarship fund in the name of my son, Connor Asley. That's a picture of him there with his brother, Colin. He's my son who passed away over 6 years ago. And in his honor, we donate to causes like the Hoffman Process, Insight Institute, and scholarships to coaching as well. Let's try to reach $50 today. We'd appreciate the love. So that little $. By the way, Tammy, since you're unaware of this, somebody just asked, did Jonathan's recent relationship end? I've been out of the loop. Well, just to give you some backstory, because this relates to this conversation, I did begin dating someone at the beginning of the year in January. And I was very upfront where I was at emotionally in this relationship. But the relationship, the more I began connecting with her, the more I realized that my love cup is a bit empty right now. Like I don't have a lot to give, emotionally speaking. And we've kind of pulled back from getting to know each other from a partnership perspective. And we've shifted to a little bit more of just being, and I don't mean that we're in the friend zone or anything like that. We just kind of pulled back. And to some degree, it's a little bit of limbo. I'll be candid with you but part of it was I shared with you right now, my love cup is empty. I don't have a lot to give. And I recognize that there is this space that I'm in right now that, what I shared with you, alone, kind of burnt out, that sort of thing. And she's been very supportive. I want to be candid with you, but I think this happens for a lot of people, is that the minute they begin a relationship with someone, it just stirs up their shit, right?
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's why I said romantic relationships are our greatest spiritual teacher. If you
Yeah.
think that they're here to bring you love,
Yeah.
to make you feel like, I mean, they certainly can be. If you have done your inner work and you are like loving on yourself, then
Yeah.
a companion to that could be a great asset.
Yeah.
But if there is a need for them to fulfill something in you, for you to be happy,
Yeah.
they get to make you happy, that is just never going to work.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that. As within, so without is the Hermetic law. And it's like, it's goes with everything. You have to fill your own cup up. So all I know about you, Jonathan,
Yeah.
or a major thing, is that you need to be a better receiver of love. So you need to read your own book.
Well, it's interesting because we both agreed that we've been a catalyst for each other. Like, she's been a catalyst for me in one area of my life, and she has expressed how much of a gift I've been in her life. We've been a catalyst to each other. So we've talked about that extensively. So from that vantage point, but and it's funny because I've been resistant to receiving. Like, and it's interesting. I'm aware that I'm resistant to receiving. I've been going, why am I having so much struggles with this? It's because there's more going on for me right now outside of this container of a relationship that requires also, that space of loving myself. And it's interesting. Before my last relationship, I kind of reached a place where I enjoyed my own company. I actually did. And then I fully immersed in this relationship, the one that ended a year and a half ago. And I think I literally was, how do I say this? I expected that love to take me to the next level, and it took me down another rabbit hole. And I'm still in that process of that particular rabbit hole of loving myself. Did I make sense, by the way?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people are looking for a savior, an external savior.
Yeah.
I've, when I look at my chart, I believe that a great way for us to understand ourself and our life purpose is to look into our astrology chart.
Yeah.
Because you'll see it will map you so precisely to your life purpose. And what I found all over mine was so accurate, talking about how, a lot of people looked to me to be their savior, and then they'd latch on to me. And then when I couldn't fulfill these, almost subconscious expectations, they'd be gone and I'd be devastated, And so we need to look at our charts to understand our life purpose, because all over mine is all around healing. It has literally been my calling. It's what I love to do, is to help people heal the way I have, led myself to heal. So
by the way, I want to piggyback on that.
Yeah.
I think the reason why I'm experiencing this, it's the next evolution of what I meant to talk about.
Yeah.
So I've been talking about this space, and I'll tell you what, I've been blogging about it. I've been getting so many comments of appreciation. For example, Debbie here just gave us a $25 super sticker, and she even writes, "Jonathan has taught me so much. I couldn't love anyone until I love myself." So Debbie, thank you for that, by the way. I appreciate that. I think this is the next evolution of my purpose, is to experience all of this so I can talk about it. Not necessarily, I'm not here to heal it or teach from it. I'm just here to share it so I can direct them to people like yourself and a lot of the guests that I have on. So I just want to acknowledge, folks, if you want to connect and work on yourself, I highly recommend checking out Tammy. There's a link below to connect with her. And because I'm not that teacher, that's not my role. My role is to be a catalyst for people to go seek healing.
And you're a connector too.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's everyone has their role in the journey. And that's why I say knowing yourself is so key. And I think that you said something really profound is that all these series of events that you have laid out, they are all meant to take you to the next level of your unfoldment.
Yeah.
And that's why when we don't judge something, but we look at it and be like, well, what is this trying to teach me? I think without the judgment, like we want to judge ourselves so bad. But if you take the judgment out of it and say, hey, let's just look at this and see what it's trying to tell me. Oh, yours is clear. I need to be a better receiver. I need to receive love more easily. It's like so clear. And then how does that look? You get to ask yourself every day when you feel burnt out, you say, sit there with yourself and say, how can I open myself up to receiving more? And one little tool I give my clients for this one is I have them put their hands on their heart because it just goes deeper on a cellular level.
Yeah.
And they could either close their eyes or open it, but go inside of your heart, take your entire focus into your heart and imagine it opening up on every side. Give it a color, a healing color, and then see that color streaming out from your heart on every side. That's right, like opening up. And then with each breath, I want you to expand it out. So expand it out to the room. Then you take another one, expand it out to your block. Then you expand it out to your city, your state, your country, until it's the entire world. And I just keep expanding it out. And for me, I get really hot. You'll notice the energy. For me, I'm like freaking hot right here. But you're going to feel it on a cellular level and send that love out. And then you say, I'm open and available to receiving more and more and more love. But that color really gets you on a really deep level also because, you know, the first two languages we learn when we come into this lifetime before we have words is emotions and color. And those get coupled together in the body, which is why I do a lot of work with those two things, is because the stuff that's being tucked away inside your body came in before you had language. So give yourself colors. When I'm using like healing colors for my clients, I ask them what healing color feels good to you right now. And sometimes they change and sometimes they have the exact same color depending on how they feel. But your body is color. You know, Kirlian photography tells us that we are light. We are pure light. So that's a great tool in my toolbox.
By the way, we have a question that popped in. This is for you, Tammy. How does a woman help or support a man if he has blocks? How to know if he has them? Is it worth sticking around for him to heal? I love this. Is a great question.
This is a good one.
Okay, I'm going to leave that up on the screen. So let's tackle the first one. How does a woman help and support a man if he has blocks?
Okay. First thing, you have to do your own work first. Okay. When I start working with a woman, I tell her, babe, put your blinders on. We ain't looking at him. We're not looking anywhere external. We're going deep within you. We're going to investigate you. We're going to heal you. So that's the first thing you get to work on. Okay. You get to ignore him for a while. Second thing is when we're working together, usually what happens is he starts to get uncomfortable because she's changing the program. All of a sudden, he doesn't have his fight buddy anymore. Okay. So he gets uncomfortable. He's like, what's going on here? And he starts freaking out, but she stays focused because she knows what she wants and she has her eye on the prize. So I say, babe, put them blinders on. We're going in. Then what happens is he either does one of two things. Either he meets her up here eventually after he gets out of that uncomfortable phase. He looks at her. He's like, dang, she's so peaceful. Oh my gosh, she's happy all the time. Why doesn't she want to argue anymore? He is like stunned. And then when that stays long enough, he's like, okay, tell me your secret. I have to have this. Like, I want that piece. Give me that. So he will either join her there or he's so uncomfortable, is not okay with the piece, and he'll just bail. You guys will no longer be in alignment, We have to understand everything is frequency. There's a reason why you're attracting that person. Everyone in your life you're attracting, it's not on accident. So we have to understand why I'm attracting this kind of person. Oh, I'm only attracted to toxic men. Well, let's find this pattern. We go back to 0 to 5. It's always there. So did I answer the full question?
Well, I think you asked, the last part was, is it worth sticking around? I think you answered that part. Yeah.
So is it worth sticking around? When you guys are no longer compatible and it becomes really difficult to stay together, it's okay to let it go. Yeah. It's okay to let it go. Either way, it's your choice. There's no right or wrong. I always let my clients reach that for themselves because I'm not going to tell them, hey, get out of this unless it is unhealthy and toxic. If it's toxic and he won't, I had this one client and she just wouldn't get out and he was so toxic and bad that I was like, I'm just not working with you because I don't want to work in this toxicity. So if it is toxic, get yourself away from that person, work on yourself, and then see what happens.
Okay. Well, Sunshine's already said, I'm interested in Tammy's work. And by the way, Debbie says Tammy is beautiful. So.
Oh, thank you, Debbie.
By the way, let me ask you a question because I have a dear friend who's been in a relationship for 7 years, and it's quite possible he might be borderline. You know, she didn't really...
Borderline personality disorder? Or?
Well, yeah. In other words, he has a tendency to, by the way, I've got
coming to the light.
Light is shining on me, and this is like really tough to look at the camera at the same time. Hopefully, it's because one of my blinds is open over there, and it's shining off of a mirror. He has a tendency, and this is since the beginning of the relationship, where he has moments where he just turns. Now, the root of it is he thinks he's being discounted or dismissed or disrespected. And it's not a valid well, his feeling is valid to him, but he's contextualized something and misinterpreting it. And then he immediately turns it to a very grumpy, negative type of person. And she feels like she's being slapped. And like, in other words, that's what it feels like, not on a physical level, but on an emotional level. And she's really asking herself right now, should she even stay in this relationship? And they're planning on moving in together. And she's been neutral.
She hasn't lived with him?
No.
In 7 years.
Yeah,
okay.
In 7 years.
Yeah, she needs to talk to me. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
She needs to investigate. There's a reason why she attracted this man. Okay. If we don't look at the beliefs, everything goes back to our beliefs, right? And I'll give you for instance, I grew up with a violent father who was abusive. So my beliefs around men were men hurt me. I'm not safe around men. All these things, right? And then men leave me because my dad died when I was 11.
Okay.
So with those beliefs, what kind of men do you think I attracted into my life?
Yeah.
Do you think that they treated me very well? No. So until I could deal with the beliefs, I couldn't attract a different thing. Okay. Because your beliefs are just demonstrating, your results are just demonstrating the beliefs that you're holding on to. So what I do with my clients is let's dig into it. Okay. If this is the pattern, let's dig into it. What would I have to believe about myself in order to feel these emotions? What would I have to believe about life in order to see this pattern? Keep digging in, because if you like, the key to understanding yourself is knowing the beliefs that you hold, and not on a conscious level, on a very, very unconscious level. That 0 to 5 little person inside of you who's still suffering, what are they believing about the world? Do they think it's safe? Do they think this is fun? Do they think this is a scary place? Like, what do they believe about life? What do they believe about the opposite sex? Because that's the key to shifting everything in your life.
By the way, just for the sake of my friend, it's not that they haven't done therapy and a lot of other stuff, and there's like, it's 85-90% good. It's these moments of slaps. And it was a recent conversation I've had with her, and she's asking herself, is this maybe the time to possibly even move on? So,
Well, I
um,
certainly wouldn't. If she feels like I see either, because that's just his trauma response. That
yes,
goes
yes,
back to his first 5 years.
yeah,
And so, what I have my clients do, if I was working with her, this is what I'd be helping her do. I'd be
okay,
helping her dig into his trauma. So,
okay,
what she could do is she could, in those moments, she could picture that little boy inside of him.
yeah,
She can scoop him up in her arms and she could tell him, it's safe. It's okay. You're loved. I'm here for you. And he would instantly change. Sometimes I have them put like a healing bubble around him, just in your mind's eye.
are you
Put it,
talking on an energetic level or
yes.
actually verbalizing that to
Yes.
him?
Yes. I mean, if he was open to it, you could verbalize it. I don't say anything and just watch the person change when you do this.
Okay.
Energy is everything. Everything is energy. Right? Our whole entire auric field is just filled with all of our beliefs.
Yeah.
So everything is energy. Just picture him as a little, just like we did with you. When you saw you, what did you feel?
Aw.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you see your boys?
My sons?
Yeah, like some version of like did you see your boys when they were little?
No, no, when I did the close my eyes and do that. No, I actually saw what I actually had pictured a memory of what I was when I was a baby. Was when
Yeah,
I
but
when
sometimes
you had,
what I'm saying is like the generationally, because you bring the DNA with you. Down your DNA is
well,
everyone on it.
I'm not proud of the way I treated my sons growing up, I mean, to the extent that I mean, I would say my sons were less traumatized than I was traumatized in youth. I mean, or when I was younger, I think to some degree. Um, but there's no doubt as I've done this work for myself, and I've sent my son to Insight, and I'll probably send him to Hoffman or maybe even you. And I mean, like, I'm encouraging him. By the way, he's becoming a psychologist, so he's probably going to get a lot of work. He's actually
Yeah.
now getting his doctorate in psychology, so he's going to do a lot of work. Um, I recognize that he's getting the benefit of what I didn't have at this age, because we talk about this stuff, and I never spoke to my father or mother about any of this. So,
Well, it even actually tracks on the DNA. Like when you
yes,
heal, when you choose to heal, it actually tracks on the DNA forward 7 generations and back. This is just scientific, because that's how DNA works.
interesting.
So you heal your lineage when you heal you.
Got it. And
So
I haven't
even if
done
you,
ancestral work yet.
yeah, even if you hadn't talk to your boys about it, they would still feel that shift in the DNA because
Got it.
you guys are connected.
Yeah.
You guys could not be separated if you tried. So,
Yep.
and I also tell my kids that too. Like, I totally fucked you up. I'm sorry. I didn't know what I was
Oh,
doing.
we had so many conversations about that.
I did my very best, but like, I just was following the system I learned. And what this does is it gives everyone grace.
Yes. Yes.
Just have compassion, because we're all living the system that was like handed down to us. So this creates compassion, and knowing that same with myself is like, I didn't receive not even a fraction of the traumatic events that my dad did, and back and back and back. So that just gives us compassion and grace for our parents, for our parents' parents, and also for ourselves.
Yeah. By the way, Annika just posted a question. Thank you. What can we do to receive a happy, healthy relationship? I want to come from a place of abundance and self-love as well, instead of lack. Any advice?
Yeah. You get to give it to yourself. It's just so simple. But whenever we're looking for anything external, we become the victims, versus understanding that everything starts from within us. Like, we get to be our own source. And when we do, we're no longer victims waiting for someone else to hand us something. It's like, give it to you.
Yeah. So coming back to we attract, I mean, do we attract, well, do we attract where we're at in our lives or the lesson we're meeting to learn, or both?
Both. I think both.
Yeah.
You know, it's like when we're up leveling, it can feel very uncomfortable. Have you noticed that? Like the place you're at now, I
Yeah.
think that's because you're up leveling. And so it gets really uncomfortable because you're getting ready to take this really big jump. And you're like, "Ooh, am I ready for that?" Ooh. And you know, you've never been there before, right? And there's this level of discomfort, and that's all good. But I believe what it's bringing out in you is exactly what you said.
Well, you know, it's
Is that
interesting. Oh, go ahead. Finish that thought.
no, is that you're being a new thing is being birthed by this discomfort and really looking at what did this thing teach me? Because as a leader,
Yeah.
you're going to be one step ahead of your audience and they're looking to you and you're birthing that next thing. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you say that. Actually, I had someone write me this morning saying, you know, that you're in a leadership role. And I'm like, well, I didn't see it that way. But the impetus was I've been sitting in this emotion, and again, not to characterize it as good or bad. It's just, but it feels heavy. It feels, you know, it feels uncomfortable. Let's just say. And I'm like, okay, well, why not just snap your finger and get out of it? Well, it's almost like, you know, it's like musicians who write from the pain or poets that write from the pain. If I'm not in the pain, I can't, I'm having a hard, I'm able to blog and talk about it and write it because I'm feeling it. And it's been going on for a little while now for, you know, I mean, it's been percolating, but my blogs have been like really fantastic because I've been like my content, like my blogs in particular, what I've been writing is really good shit. But I'm like, but I mean, like, I don't have the answer yet to get out of the shit, other than maybe, or I mean, to some degree, having you on and others, you know, that's part of the solution, if you will. But I have always felt like I'm just teaching 1 minute ahead of what I'm learning 1 minute ahead of what I teach, kind of thing. If that makes sense.
Well, that's a fast learner then. I mean,
Well,
they
no, what I mean
usually
is,
say you attract clients that are 3 years behind you. So if
oh,
you're
really? Okay. Well, I always say I'm just a little bit ahead of you. So if it's 3 years, I mean, to some degree, I'm like, look, I learned something and I teach it the next day is what I meant, you know,
I love that.
from that
I
vantage point.
mean, but I mean, that's beautiful. That's true learning when you could turn around and share it immediately.
Yeah, that's what I do. I learn. By the way, it helps reinforce my learning by sharing it right away. By the way, Sunshine comes back. Can you speak on when one is traumatically bullied to the point where you question you are the bully?
Yeah.
Oh, well, wait a minute. Why don't you explain that one to me?
Okay, let me read it again.
Can you speak on when is one traumatically bullied to the point where you are questioning you are the bully?
Okay, I think what you're saying, please
Yeah.
confirm this, but I think what you're saying is you hang out with a victim long enough and you become the bully.
That's kind of the way I interpreted it. So
Which is absolutely a thing.
really,
Oh yes. Hang out with I used to do this because I used to feel so bad for people, right? And I used to, pick up the wounded birds and it's okay and nurse them back to health. And then pretty soon I was the one wounding them. And I'm like, what happened? So here's the thing with the victim mentality. When you believe you're a victim, it's the truth. For that person, they have made themselves the victim. They have confirmed it over and over again in their mind. And you can't undo that. So if you hang around with the victim long enough, yes, you will be the bully. So that's why I'm always looking to hang out with people that are above me because I want to be pulled up. I don't want to be pulled down. Right.
Okay.
But most people, like when we talk about, that person, they're my vibe, there is something that's drawing you to that person. right?
Okay.
Because you are on some frequency, you guys are aligning. So if you find yourself either to be the bully or the victim, you got to start looking at my dog loves this conversation right now. Whenever she feels the energy and she just like swarms me.
Okay.
But yeah, that's why that's why I tell people this, okay? Because I get a lot of women who are married to narcissists, okay?
Yeah.
We'll say that. I put the quotations because I don't buy into titles necessarily, but I use them for other people's sake, right? So you can't have here's the coin, the narcissist coin. On this side is the narcissist. You have to have the other side to have the full coin. You have to have the allower in order to have the narcissist. You can't have one without the other. So she's making herself the victim. And most of us do this, by the way, before we start on our healing journey by saying, oh no, he's the one doing all these things to me.
Yeah.
Okay, well, who's the one that let that person do all those things to you? You know what I'm saying? So, and I get that many of us have been victimized in our life. Most of us have, but that doesn't make us a victim. What makes us a victim is if we identify as a victim. They do this to me. This person did that to me. These people, like, don't identify yourself as a victim. Own your life and say, all of this life, everything that I see outside of me is a result of my belief system. Therefore, I could change any of it whenever I want. That puts you in the power seat. You're owning it. But if you're giving it to everyone else, then you'll be the constant victim because it's all because of everyone else is doing and not because of you.
Yeah. Oh, I see that habitually. And I recognize that. And let me be clear. I think anyone who has been emotionally, verbally abused, that has to be an absolute nightmare to experience that sort of thing. And to the degree that we allow it or accept it, thankfully, there are people that I'll use the word escape, but they make a stand for their sovereignty and they move on and they come to people like yourself or others, trauma specialists, to work on themselves. Because I'm sure you've worked with a number of women or men who have been traumatized in that capacity. As we come to wrapping this up, because we're coming, and by the way, Tammy, I can't believe this is like the fastest hour I think I've ever had. When I do these podcasts. When a person comes to you, is it really about, you're a trauma specialist helping people find the love of their life? Is that, or is it really to find the love within themselves?
Yep. That's exactly
really
right.
what you do, right? It's not about the relationship. It's about,
they think it's, this is my pain point.
Yeah.
And it may be your pain point, but why?
Yeah.
So I'm all about getting to the root cause of the problem. So some people have come to me for other things. Like sometimes they're depressed and have anxiety, and that's affecting their relationships, but that's not the main thing. But I'm just here to get them out of pain.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Regina. Well, I just want to acknowledge that. Regina says, Tammy, thank you. You are awesome. Thank you for being here for us. It's kind of a coincidence, everybody. I was on a podcast a few weeks ago, and when the podcast got up, another, I can't remember who it was. On someone else's podcast, I was a guest, and I went on their YouTube channel, and you were the next guest after me, or the other way around. And I watched you for like 10 minutes, and I'm like, oh, I've got to have this person on my channel. And originally I thought about asking if I could be on your channel, but I saw that it was about doing this work that we did, and I didn't want to be the guinea pig in that regard. And then we decided that's what I'll do for this podcast, is to allow myself to be the guinea pig, if you will. And I mean,
but I still would love to have you on mine.
Oh, you would?
Yeah, I want to do a deep dive.
Oh, okay.
Oh, well, what we did, we just barely dipped your pinky toe in the water.
No, I'm a male and I'm too blocked. No.
You're the exact kind of male that I need. I have done it on males.
Yeah.
I've had males on my podcast, but you're more open. So you'd be a really good.
All right, everybody, really quickly, there's a link below to check out all of Tammy's stuff. By the way, I will agree to be on her podcast. I will be a guinea pig, if you will, which is tough for me sometimes. And I jokingly say guinea pig, but I will definitely.
You get to be the receiver.
Yeah. I will be the receiver. Okay. By the way, Sassy wants to write, thank you, Tammy and Jonathan, for a different kind of discussion. Regina says, everything you said resonate. Sunshine asks really quickly, can you share with everybody what you offer? And then we'll wrap up on that.
So I like to work with my clients at least 12 weeks because a minimum of 12 weeks. Okay. Typically I like 6 months because it takes a while for you to change those old habits. But yeah, for anyone who is interested in what I do and wants to hear what I have to offer, you could either register to be on my podcast, or you can schedule a free 20-minute call with me and I'll give you the rundown.
All right. Again, that link is in the show notes if you want to connect with Tammy. Well, Tammy, this was fun. Thank you. I know.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I'll come back anytime you want me.
Yeah. And really quickly, I want to just give props to Annika for the $5 super sticker as well. Thank you for the love. I appreciate it. Well, Tammy, I'll be on your podcast soon. And everyone, if you would, please share this video with your friends. And you'll see me in a couple days because you guys know I'm on regularly. So everyone, I'm going to give you all a big, gigantic Jonathan Bear hug of appreciation. Thanks so much. Wishing you all a super duper wonderful evening. Bye now. Bye-bye. Bye.